How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Mentor Monday. Mentor Monday is your weekly microdose of encouragement, inspiration, and miracle grow on your potential as a coach. Do me a huge favor. You see this right here. This is what we love to do. We love to engage with you. I'm just going to check, make sure my microphone is working all right. It appears to be. So hopefully we sound okay. I'm about 30 seconds ahead of you guys as far as that's concerned. But do me a huge favor. Like this post and share it. It tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. You ever join us on a Mentor Monday, you know that I never waste your time. You know that we never do fluffy Mentor Mondays. We actually give you something that can help you grow as a coach, either on the skill side or on the business side to help you get more clients and help you thrive, both as a coach and as a business person. So do me a huge favor. Come on, jump inside the chat. Don't be shy. I can't see you. Only if you jump into the chat can I see you. So jump in, say hello, tell us where you are joining us from. Tell us what you're excited about. You know, we've got Thanksgiving coming up in a couple of days. I could have taken the night off, but no, I'm here with you guys. But I'm already having a great week so far. It's raining like crazy where we are, which is very unusual to see rain very often where we are. But it's that time of year, and so we're doing the best to enjoy that. There's Americo saying hello. How's it going, Americo? Joan joining us from Bakersfield. Americo is joining us from Richmond, Virginia. Keep those comments coming in. If you would, let us know that you are here. Jump inside the chat. Tell us where you're joining us from, what you're excited about this coming week. Also, if you've got any questions or comments about what we're doing tonight, happy to always answer those. But do us also a huge favor, like this post and share it. It's very important to us that we are serving coaches to the best of our ability on Mondays. Yes, they are freebies, but it doesn't mean that they've got to be fluff. So if they're helpful, like it and share it. That tells Facebook and YouTube that we're doing a good job. We say hello to a few more people. Kimberly joining us from Chicago. Sean saying hello. I thank you for that, America. Appreciate you as well. Samuel's joining us from Northern Virginia. Excited for the season and new knowledge and growth every day. Joan says excited to see family on Thanksgiving. Yes, it's going to be a fun week. Our youngest is out of school. We only have one left in school. She's out all week. I remember, I don't know if you guys remember this back in the old days. We only got we usually got like a half day on Wednesday, and then we got Thursday and Friday, and then we were back to the grind. And these days, at least out here, these kids get a whole week, which is amazing. So I appreciate that. Sean's joining us from Phoenix, Arizona. If you guys would, please keep those comments coming in. Also, big stuff that is that's coming up as well is that our last boot camp of the entire year is December 13th through the 15th. I'll say more about that later, but that is our last weekend boot camp for the year. And Dave is joining us from Belleville, Illinois. Very good. Well, do me a huge favor. Charlotte is saying hello from DFW in Texas. Good to see you. Dallas won this weekend. That was pretty surprising. They came back and that old rivalry of Dallas versus Washington, and they came out on top. That was a pretty impressive win. It wasn't super expected considering the way Dallas' season has been. Dan's joining us from Indiana. Good to see you, Dan. All right. Well, keep those comments coming in. Let us know that you're here. And I'm going to begin to jump in. Let me grab my little trusty clicker because we're going to need that. We are in week 2 of this new series that we're doing, Mapping the Journey of Your Coaching Clients. Now, the reason why we're doing this series is because I know that many of you are wondering about this onboarding process and how do you start with a client. Last week, we talked about intake. We talked about the things that you do before you ever even start with a client to get the creative juices going, to set things in motion so that when you get to the very beginning, whether that's a complimentary session or that first paid session, you're able to actually hit the ground running. So that means that we need to do some things that help the client begin to get some clarity so that you have a real starting point from here onto the journey. Now, what we're going to do over the next few weeks, and what I've decided to do is actually expand this because I wanted to focus on the second part because we are going to talk about, obviously, we talked about that in the very beginning. What's the starting point? And actually, for the next couple of weeks, we're specifically going to be talking about motivation. And we're going to look at it through a few different facets between this week and the next 2 weeks. And then we're going to find our way back in terms of looking at results and some of these other things. But really, what we want to do is I want to give you some great handles of being able to work with clients from the very beginning and at least have that starting point covered so that you've got steps in mind. You're actually thinking about these things with regard to your clients. Tonight, what we're talking about is letting your clients take the wheel. And I will say this on the front end, and let me say hello to just a couple of people really quick. There's Kelly from Arizona as well. Good to see you. Um, Let me say this on the front end. I don't know how many of you have actually gone through our training and at what level you've gone through our training. But one of the things that our coaches learn, whether that even be in our free mini course or in the life coach certification course or boot camp or 1 day accelerator or whatever, you've probably, if you've been around me for any length of time, you've heard me say things like coaching is client centered. And that's something that we understand inside of the coaching world, the coaching industry. And it's really one of those big things that separates coaching from all of the other helping roles. I know that some of you haven't gone very far in that process in terms of getting trained and certified. Maybe you'll do that sooner than later. But I know a lot of times people are getting into coaching because they believe that they are really good advice givers. They think that they're really good advisors. People come to you a lot of times, not just because you're a good listening ear, but because they see stability in your life and you know that they know that you're not going to point them in the wrong direction. So a lot of times, because coaching is trending, a lot of people want to get into coaching because they believe that being a coach is just simply people are going to be paying you for advice and not the kind of advice that they would be getting from a counselor or a therapist. But that's not really what coaching is. As a matter of fact, coaching really grabs a hold of some motivators that other helping roles really have never harnessed, because all of the other helping roles are very well, I would say if you're a counselor or a therapist, it's counselor or therapist centered. It's mentor centered. It's advisor centered. It's fill in the blank centered. And what do I mean by that? Or like training centered or teaching centered. What do I mean by that? I mean that you're the center of the universe in the relationship. So people in those cases, whether you're sitting in a classroom with a teacher or anything else, they are the people who have all the questions, and we look to this person to be who has the one who has all the answers. So people are coming because they don't know, and so they go to this. And I'm not saying that any of those helping roles are bad. I'm just saying that coaching is different, because coaching understands that the client is the center of the universe in the relationship. Everything is client centered. Then that means that the client is doing all the heavy lifting in the relationship. Because if it's coach centered, then that means that you are doing all of those things and you're not. Coaching is not coach centered. If it's coach centered, then it's actually not coaching at all. It's something else. So before we jump into this, what we're going to do is, for those of you who want the slides for tonight, you can text the word slides. Don't try to text other words. Just text the word slides to 833-258-7547. Do that really quick. You're going to find the link at the bottom of the page, and you can have all my slides. There's a typo in slide one, just so you guys know. But you can get all the slides and you can get all the questions that we're going to be asking. That way, you've got all this in front of you. I'm not going to tell you not to pay attention, but if you want that, then text it right now and then you can get it. So let's talk about one of those really, really big factors with regard to motivation. And honestly, what we're going to do is we're going to look at the three biggest factors affecting motivation. I considered the fact that we could throw them all in one night, but I thought it would be too much. And I want to look at each one of those individually. That first factor that is a key motivator for clients is autonomy. So we're talking really about the power of autonomy. And what is it? Because some of you may have heard this word, but you don't know exactly what it is. What is autonomy? Well, autonomy is just really simply the desire to feel in control of our lives, to feel in control of our decisions, and to feel in control of our actions. And we know when we actually have control, or at least we have a sense that the decisions that we make, that the choices that we make are actually on our own. And not only do we make decisions and we make choices, but that they actually have effect. That's what autonomy really is. And just a couple more lines about that. It's about self direction. It means that you are choosing your own path. And more importantly, you actually are owning the fact that you are choosing your own path. And why does that actually matter? It matters because when clients feel like they are in the driver's seat, then their motivation is going to increase. It's actually going to skyrocket. Because what happens in their life is that they stop following orders and they actually start creating their own journey in their own way. Now, why is this important? Again, well, let's think about it in terms of if any of you have ever had children or you've ever worked with children or been around children at any given point. Have you ever tried to work alongside and do any kind of a project with a kid? Any, when they're a little kid. And actually, it doesn't change from when they are a tiny child till they get older. Because let's say that you are going to paint a picture with them. And let's say that it's going to be a picture of a frog on a lily pad, and they've got their tongue going out. The frog has their tongue sticking out, and they're trying to get a fly. And that's what the picture is. It's like nice little picture on a pond, really wide open spaces for you to be able to color. And so you're like, hey, we're gonna color. I'm gonna color with you. This is what older people like to say. I want to color with you. And you know what us older people like to do, even with a child, is that we want to give them the colors that match. So if you want to be a frog, what color? Let's play along. Well, if it's a frog, what color do you want to use? Most of us are going to say green. Most of us, if I say it's going to be the color of a fly or a bee. Let's say it's a bee that is in the picture. Then what colors are we going to use? We're going to probably use yellow and black. It's a pond and they're sitting on a lily pad. What color should that lily pad be? Probably should be green. And the pond is, they're sitting in a pond. So what color should that be? Well, most of us are probably going to say it's water. So it should be blue. And then there's a daisy over here to the side. What color should that be? And so we're going to choose a color for that. And so for us, what we're going to say is, yeah, choose this color. We're going to hand them the proper colors, and we're going to tell them to stay in the lines, and we're going to tell them all the things that they're supposed to do. But if you left a kid up to their own devices, they may or may not actually follow the rules, right? They may or may not choose, especially as they are younger, they may or may not choose orange for a frog. Orange, may not choose green for a frog. Matter of fact, as you get older, you actually find out that there are other types of frogs besides those toads that you saw in the South when you were growing up. There's a lot of colors of frogs. There's a lot of creativity to be had. That flower does not have to be white with a little yellow in the middle. The water doesn't actually have to be blue. And if you've been to a pond lately, you probably have been to a pond that was more like green and murky and dark than you actually saw blue water, right? I mean, let's face it. But what do we do is in that relationship, we're trying to get them to make the picture look right. We want it to, this is the way that it actually occurs. And so a lot of cases, what will happen is that we're trying to feed them the crayons that they're supposed to be using. And what will end up happening at a certain point is that you'll see even a small child throw a fit at a certain point because you're telling them what to do. Keep this in line. No, that needs to be that color. The tongue shouldn't be purple. It should be red. And there's this, and you kind of look at it and you're kind of like, okay, what's the point here? What's the end game actually for the parent? Is it compliance? Is it get them to follow the rules, or is it something else? The other thing that you could do is that you could just push the entire box over there and say, hey, we have an objective together, and it's to color this page. And what I'm going to allow you to do so that you're not throwing a fit, because that's one of the preventatives to actually keeping a kid from throwing a fit in one of those cases, is to allow them to choose and to give them some autonomy so that they can own this thing. Because you know what kids will say? If you take over an art project, the kid, when you try to show it to the dad, to show it to a sister, to show it to a friend, or put it on the refrigerator, you know what the kid will say? Even if they colored it themselves, mom did that one right there. Dad did that. Sissy did that one. They won't even claim it as their own. You know why? Because they know it wasn't theirs. Now, that's what's true inside of a kid, not because they are a brat, but there is a wiring inside of us. We are hardwired to be powerful people who make powerful decisions that actually matter. And we understand this happens throughout someone's life. If you want to steal someone's motivation, then tell them how to color the picture. And this is a cue for all of you. Now, I know that was a long illustration, but I'm hoping that it's starting to sink in. Your clients aren't 3-year-olds. Your clients are mature individuals who want something in their life. And one of the key motivators in their life is going to be autonomy. If you want them to believe that that picture is actually theirs and you want them committed to it, then you need to scoot the box of crayons over to them so that they can choose what that looks like. Yes, we have decided on a goal. The end game, the outcome is you're going to color this picture. How we get there and how you choose to do it is absolutely going to be yours. First key we learned last week is to help them choose a starting point. Second key is that I've got to begin to help my client feel like they are in an empowered position where they feel in control, that they can actually make powerful decisions. And the most important thing is that they'll be motivated and committed to taking ownership, because I need to hold them accountable for taking ownership for the things that they want. And they're not going to take ownership for the things that we tell them to do. Now, let's keep going. What does autonomy actually look like in a coaching relationship? Well, autonomy looks like this. First off, it looks like the client choosing their own goals. So instead of following a generic plan, what we are going to do in a coaching relationship, if we want to see high motivation from the client, is that the client needs to decide what outcomes, what that picture is going to look like, and what are those things that matter most to them. So if you want to see somebody highly engaged in something, when I say matters most, what does the client value most? And what does that picture look like? They will commit to that picture. They're not going to commit to your picture. They're not motivated by your picture of how you think that their life should look. They're going to be motivated by the picture that they think that their life is supposed to look like. So autonomy in a coaching relationship first looks like the client choosing their own goals. Here's an example. I want to focus on balancing my work and personal life rather than chasing a promotion right now. Do you know that some people would actually, and some clients believe that chasing the promotion is more important than balance? That's what's true for them. Now, I might have a differing opinion. It doesn't really matter, because I'm not trying to make it coach centered. I'm making it client centered. You know that there are a lot of critical judgments that people have around someone, that being balanced is actually going to be more important than you pursuing a promotion in your life or whatever. We need to have people who are a judgment-free coaching relationship, where instead of people, imposing what they believe their values are, is to actually allow someone to live into their value. And so this is how we do that. Second thing, what does autonomy look like? It looks like designing their approach. Clients are going to create their own strategies to overcome challenges. Now, I'll say this. It doesn't mean that you can't brainstorm with a client around those things, but what we want is a client to actually choose their own strategy. In this example, I prefer to tackle smaller steps daily instead of setting weekly targets. That might be something that a client would come up with. Well, newsflash, here's what the research tells us. When a client chooses their own goals, when a client designs their own approach and chooses their own strategies, the strategies work better for the client than any that we would come up with for them. And I know that might be a bitter pill for some of you to swallow because you like to be fixers and you like to be strategic and you like to problem solve, but this is what the research actually teaches us. What else does autonomy look like? Autonomy looks like setting boundaries. It means that the client defines how much time, how much energy that they dedicate to specific goals. In this example is I'll spend 3 focused hours on this project and prioritize family time afterward. And so what when you read that statement, what is that doing? It's empowering the client to be able to set the boundaries of how they are going to be working on something. So it's really, really important to define those kinds of things. And what does it look like? Defining success, allowing a client to decide what success means to them rather than just simply saying, here's what society says that success looks like for you with regard. This is extraordinarily important. And here's just a simple example of that. Success to me means being present with my kids while advancing my career. It's not just climbing the ladder. Now, I understand that other people might have a different definition of what that looks like. But again, we're allowing the client to determine success, define the success on the front end, which allows you to be able to coach them towards that rather than what you think is success. I say something along the lines of this also always to our coaches, but here's the thing: people are more committed to what they want to do and how they want to do it than they will be to your best laid plans. I appreciate the fact that some of you are great problem solvers, some of you are great fixers, some of you are great strategic people, but nobody cares as much as they care about their own thing. So the best thing that we can do as we are coaching people is to help people get really, really crystal clear on what all these things mean. So that's why if I can help a client get crystal clear on what success is, really, really clear, then there's no vague notion as they're moving forward. You know what ends up happening? The more I define the goal with the client's definition of it, the more I allow the client to set strategic action and steps moving forward, the more that the client sets their own boundaries, and the more that they, again, define what success looks like. What I'm doing as a coach is that I'm really helping them anchor themselves because there's nothing ambiguous about what they're doing. So my job again is to help a client get really crystal clear. It's not to determine their action or their goals for them. Now, well, how do we do that? Well, here's how we do that. Autonomy means keeping the client in control. So again, I said that a while ago. What does that look like in a coaching relationship when you first start out? Clients set their own goals. Rather than suggesting goals, invite clients to articulate what they want. What does their life look like in the future? Their desired outcome. So you might ask a question like this: what does success look like for you at the end of this process? They should be able to define what that is. Now, here's the thing: it's very possible that you're going to work with someone who has not thought very clearly about what that is. It is, matter of fact, that's going to be more often than not. They haven't defined really what that looks like. So your job is, with a question like this, to get the client thinking about it, to get them picturing it. There's a lot of facets of that picture. When you get to that outcome and you get to that goal, then something should be different about you. Who is that person in the future? Well, in most cases, this person in the future thinks differently, acts differently, probably has different habits. Maybe they have a different relationship with their spouse. Maybe they have a different relationship with their kids. If they haven't thought about those things, they better think about it, right? On the front end. What does this mean if I get that promotion? What does this mean if I am making more money? What does this mean that I move, I change careers, or whatever that looks like? It's going to have more of an impact than simply a financial one or a work-life balance one. It's going to impact families. It's going to impact relationships. It's going to impact how many hours you work a week. There's going to be a lot of different things. And I don't think that most people have actually thought about those things. That is your job, to prompt them to ask these kinds of questions. Keeping the client in control. Clients create their own action plan. How do we ask that? Well, does not mean that we can't facilitate brainstorming with a client. That's completely fine. We just need to make sure that the client, we want to see commitment, we need autonomy. That means that the client decides the steps. How would you ask that? What's one way you'd like to approach this that feels achievable and energizing? See, questions like that. What are we looking for as we ask a question like that? We're looking for faith on the part of the client. We're looking for, because they won't commit and they won't be motivated by something that they don't believe that they could actually do. They won't choose an option and stay committed to it if they don't have faith either in their skill or the attainability of it, or that for some reason they're just like, I just don't like this option. I don't like this action. See, this is what happens in most relationships out there in the world. There's someone who's trying to dictate what their steps are and what their strategy is. And you know what will keep people from going 100% in those things? It's that they don't really have faith in it. They don't believe that they can do it. Well, I don't believe. And so what we do is that when they choose their own approach, they're thinking about their own personality is being factored in. They're thinking about their own skill set. They're thinking about their own history. They're thinking about what they've done in the past. They've thought about the things that they are really confident and bold in already. And that's what's actually informing them in their path forward. Doesn't mean that we don't believe that they should stretch themselves, but here's what happens. When we start asking these questions, you know what will start coming to the surface? Lenses by how people think about themselves in their abilities. So if we hear them expressing what sounds like limits, limiting beliefs, self-doubt, all of those other kinds of things, we can push them. That's our job. It's not just to, allow them to settle, to be passive, to take baby steps when they could actually take a really bold step forward that would move them forward and require more commitment. So this is our job in this. We ask those questions and to listen to them, what feels achievable and energizing. So we are looking for that faith. We're looking for that hope. That is going to ensure that there's commitment. But I'm also listening for those things of fear and self-doubt. We'll help them clean up some of their thinking about themselves so that they can take bolder steps. And instead of offering solutions, ask, what's one way you might handle this challenge differently? We also want to celebrate client wins. How do we do that? Well, we acknowledge when they take initiative, when they're showing that they are taking control. We want to acknowledge those things. You took the lead on that decision. How did it feel? What are we doing? Is that we want them to actually feel good, that we're recognizing the fact that they took a step and something actually happened because they took an initiative. Something actually happened because they have power of choice. And now that they've actually made a choice, there was a measurable change on the other end. Sometimes people don't really pay attention to those things. We want to celebrate those kinds of things, highlight the choices that they're making. You found a way that worked for you. How's it going so far? We want to recognize, and what increases motivation is that we're actually giving them feedback on the powerful steps that they are making and on progress. Remind them that their success comes from their actions. You're making this happen. Great job owning it. So we want to always celebrate the autonomy that is happening in the powerful choices that they're making. And then we also want to check in on ownership. Ask them how they feel about the process. Do you feel like this approach fits you? It's really important that as you're going through the process, that you are reconfirming that they are engaged in their process and they feel really, really good about the decisions that they're making. Do they, as the coaching relationship goes on, we don't want it to become a relationship where we're just simply an accountability measure that is going to slap them on the wrist if they disengage or they shut down or they stop or start self-sabotaging or something like that. That's not what our role is. Yes, there is accountability, but what we actually want is for the client to stay motivated and to actually shift and change. So if a client starts doing stuff for us or just simply because they don't want to disappoint or something like that, that's really a bad motivator. So what we want to do is that we want to make sure that the client's always feeling like they are in charge, that their choices actually matter, and that they're empowered in the process and going along. Another thing, make sure that that what they are doing is actually aligned with their goals. Does this still feel like the right focus for you? We need to ask those kinds of questions to get clarity and to make sure that they are still feeling like they're on target. And you know what happens? If they say no, if they say not like it was in the very beginning, then we can adjust any way that's needed. What would make this feel more like your own plan? So at any point, if a client does starts faltering, it could be actually because they don't feel like they're in control anymore. Now, again, if you want the slides, then text slides to 833-258-7547 and you can get all of the slides. Hey, let me pay the bills really quick. December 13th through 15th, this is the last boot camp. This is our last chance at an accelerated credential over a weekend. Now, what do we do in a boot camp that is so special? Well, we start Friday, we go all day Saturday, all day Sunday. You turn in your assignments, take the exam, and you are done. You've completed your certification. What we have is we have a self-paced program that we've had around since 2014. 10 years, can you believe that? And we've trained and certified thousands of coaches over the last 10 years. Boot camp was one of the things that we created during the pandemic. And one of the things that we found out of boot camp is that while self-paced training is great, connection actually does something in people. Connection, being in the trenches with other people, it's motivating. It creates its own level of accountability. Plus, having an option where people can come in, ask their questions, see coaching demos, role play with other people, and everything else. We just see that when people participate with one another, that they're just better coaches and they are more successful. On this particular weekend, there are 7 powerful weekend sessions. Session 1 is Foundations of Coaching. Session 2 is the anatomy of a dynamic coaching session. Session 3 is how to help your clients get extraordinary results. We talk about goal setting and accountability. We have 2 sessions on how to listen on a transformational level. We talk about the pitfalls of listening and what are the things that you should be listening for as a coach, and lots of tips inside of there. Session 6 is how to ask powerful questions, those questions that create breakthrough, that create aha moments, that help a client get unstuck. That's what we talk about in that session. Session 7 is how to establish a growing coaching practice. If you only had session 7 is worth thousands of dollars itself, because I show you the beginning steps so that you can thrive as a business person. Every one of these sessions include live Q&As, and we also take time to have live coaching demos. So I know really many of you have never seen a coaching session before. You've never been coached. You've never done it before. Well, that's what you are afforded in terms of the opportunities in that weekend. What is included? Well, just what I said. Those 7 sessions, we've brought all of our sessions together from the self-paced course and compiled them into a weekend with Q&As and role playing. You're also going to get access to brandable templates, including coaching agreements, a client welcome pack. All of these things are editable inside of Canva. You're able to just open it up and it's done for you. You can change color schemes. You can put your own branding in it, change it how you want, but you're going to need that when you start out in your business. You're also going to get a download called a the coaching starter kit. It's 5 tools to accelerate transformation. You're also going to get a ton of question samples. You're also obviously going to earn your life coach certification. You will get a certificate. You're going to get replays. You're going to get handouts, and you're going to also have included the live Tuesday night coach training, so that you are not done just because you're done on a weekend. In terms of connection, you can always come in on a Tuesday night and you can get your questions answered, connect with other coaches. That way you're continuing to be able to connect with us and also have support. The price is a steal. The value is about $4,000 for this weekend. We're giving it to you for only $295. There is a payment plan so you can get enrolled for only $47. And I believe it's like 8 months at $47. It's an unheard of price. You get a ton for everything that is involved in this. I'm going to encourage you again. That is December 13th through the 15th, and that's just a couple of weeks away. I think it's like 18 days away, so not even 3 weeks away. It is our last boot camp of 2024. There will not be another boot camp until February. I know some of you are like, well, maybe in 2025. Well, how much longer can you take and think about this? The year is over with. Some of you have already been flirting around with this coaching idea for years, and you're just procrastinating on it. And so we offer this to take all the excuses away. How much it costs? Well, there's no excuse because we made it affordable. Treat yourself. Make this your own Christmas gift to yourself. There's nothing that you're going to get for Christmas that is going to empower you, motivate you, put you on track for financial freedom, to allow you to do things that are in your heart, that are all about your calling and your purpose. There's nothing that's going to be as purposeful that you're probably going to get under the tree. So treat yourself, all right? Invest in yourself and invest in your own development. If you wait until February, I mean, you can, but we all know that January is going to be a monster business month. So why not get your training and certification out of the way before Christmas? And then you can enjoy the holidays, and then you can hit the ground running once it comes January, because we all should be signing a ton of clients in January. Okay. So let me look over here just really quick. Let me say hello to anybody else who's saying hello to me. All right. Not a whole lot going on over here. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring this back to the top. We're going to put this on replay mode, and we're going to do it all over again. Don't forget to get trained and certified. The link for our programs is in the description of this video right now. It'll take you 90 seconds to get enrolled, whether it's for the weekend or you can get enrolled in our self-paced course and you can start immediately. So listen, I appreciate you guys all immensely. Have a great rest of your week. Enjoy Thanksgiving with your family. And let me express my Thanksgiving and gratitude for every one of you. It's a delight and it's a joy in my heart to be able to serve you. So I appreciate you so much. And if nothing else, I will see you next week. Have a great one. Take care.